so cold outside. though.
It is, it's freezing, I know. And then when I woke up at 7, it was like 5. It was crazy.
No.
I had to wake up my dogs and everything. This makes me actually hot.
I picked up one of those.
Hi, Candace.
So good.
Or what? Is there a video or no video?
There is video of you.
Okay, which one is me? So I can look at Candace.
That one's Candace. There's no video on her.
I don't know why I'm sitting back here. I guess let me snow full.
Oh, cool.
Is it here or is it here?
There.
Okay.
Yeah. It's good. It's already spotlight. Okay.
Cool.
There you go. Everything should be good. And I'm gonna shut these real quick.
Yeah. Maybe you're driving. I just wanted to make sure.
It's not something, so
I
like.
just wish that door was over there. I slowed it down. So
Nick.
Oh, gotcha.
Could you email me this Zoom link?
that Zoom? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just kidding. There's only 3 of us.
It's on email too. You can tell.
Do you have
them.
the email?
I mean,
Will you forward it to me? It's Rebecca Green. Tell me when you're ready.
Sorry, I wasn't as ready as.
Okay.
Okay, go.
Okay, it's Rebecca Green, REBECCA, Green, just like the color, GREN, @kw.com.
Okay, perfect. Okay, you should get it in a few seconds.
This is gonna be way more applicable because there's 3 of us and I'm actually really excited now.
if
Cool.
you need anything, holler at me.
Yes, Mom, thank you.
No problem.
Oh, yes, wait, there it is. But it's not on my computer yet. Yeah, it is.
I'll try not to bring my bag because last time I came to work, I just got really fell on a pile of ice. It's horrible. I didn't see it on concrete.
Recording. That's gonna be fun. Maybe I can come back here. Are you on your Zoom too?
No.
It's just these 2 feeding. All right, I'm gonna. Maybe. Oh gosh, that's gonna be bad. Want to just move up here? So we
Yeah,
can
we
rest?
can, yeah.
Hey, I definitely thought I was talking to you guys for the last 5 minutes and I wasn't.
No.
Hi, Candace. Hi, Chris. Hi, Stacy. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Look at that. That's really fun. Okay, so there are 3 of us here in person, and then I think we've got 3 online, 2 if I count. So I'll sit up here so you guys can so maybe hear my voice. What I had prepared was a little bit more of like overarching education around listings, but since there's just a few of us, I would really like this to be applicable and you to walk away and be like, I at least know where to start with my listing presentation. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Is that cool with you guys online too?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
fine with that. I'm on my way to the office, so.
Oh, cool. We'll see you in a second. All right, so before I like get too far into the weeds, I want to know a little bit about your guys' businesses, how long everybody's been in the business. And then I also want you to rank yourself right now. If you have a listing appointment, how confident would you be on a scale of 1 to 10 that you were going to walk in the door and kill it? So whoever wants to go first, who you are, how long you've been in the business, and how confident you are with your current listing presentation.
I can go first.
Okay.
So I've been licensed for a little over a year now, and I work for the Gamble Group. I'm their transaction coordinator and just admin assistant. But I do go on listing appointments sometimes. So I'm just really trying to
Cool.
learn like the ins and out of it. And I've been with them since November of 2020.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been a real estate agent for like 2.5 months, and I had my first listing and I was excited about it, but I didn't feel completely confident in my listing presentation.
Sure.
I didn't have any paperwork. I kind of just winged it and
That listing though, put you through the ringer.
I know.
You learn a lot. Great.
Well, it wasn't
That
even
was
in
not
the
a normal
MLS or
listing
anything.
presentation.
Yeah.
Okay. But you had an experience.
Yes, it was definitely an experience, but overall, if I did a listing presentation today, I'd probably feel maybe like a 7 in confidence.
Okay, great.
So fairly decent.
I've been licensed since like April or May of last year, so several months.
All the COVID.
And I haven't really put like an actual listing presentation together yet, so I feel like if I were to go to a listing appointment, I would probably have like a confidence rating of about like a 5.
Okay.
Like I feel like I prepare myself a lot to talk to people about things, but like not having something like set to where like this is who I am and this is what I present to every listing presentation, I feel like really would get me down on my confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I love that. Anybody online want to share? Are you in a place where you can chat with us a little bit?
I can go ahead and share. My name's Chris. I've been an agent for since like April last year, April 2021, and I'm a full-time teacher, so this is a second job for me. But yeah, I haven't yet done a listing presentation, so I would not be very confident.
Got it. Okay. We're gonna fix that, or at least get a good start today. Anybody else in a place where you can unmute? Like I said, I kind of want to understand, have we all been on 3 or 4 listing appointments, or like, are we starting back at the very beginning? So we just want to be not scared out of our mind.
I've literally had one presentation or one opportunity for a presentation.
Okay.
I've shadowed
And
a
I'm
listing presentation, but I've never gone on my own.
Okay.
And I'm the same way. I've had one situation where I was able to have a listing presentation and I was so nervous and so scared. So I need all the things.
Perfect. I love that. Well, let's start there then. And so my goal today is going to be like listing basics. And then if we come back and we want to cover the whole PowerPoint I had about how to make your presentation even better, great.
Okay.
So a little bit about me. I feel weird up here because there's just 3 of you. I have been in real estate for almost 10 years now. The reason that I love listings is I spent almost 3 years as a listing agent on a team. And so my one job was to convert the leads. We had how this team was structured. It was very based off of the Keller Williams Millionaire Real Estate model. And so everyone had their lane. We had a listing agent, we had a buyer's agent, we had a showing assistant. Like it was straight by the book. So my one job was to convert the leads that my OSA, which stands for outside sales agent, would set. Most of the appointments that I would go on were either for sale by owner or expired listings, or we did a lot of circle prospecting, which is where you call a neighborhood to try to solicit a listing, and it's like just straight cold leads. So what was really important in our world is that my presentation was dialed in so that like we could track some things, because if I give you a different presentation than I give you, then do we really know if any of the system and tools work?
Right.
No, we have no clue because we didn't track anything.
Right.
And so I think even when you're not listing a really high volume of houses, knowing that you're giving clients the same experience is really, really important. And that's where the listing presentation comes in. So your demeanor, because we all mirror and match, and you're gonna have different experiences in every house, but having something in front of you that you can go back to and know, no matter what objection I'm presented with, I have all the tools in front of me, that can be really, really important. So I'm gonna show you guys where you can find the templates in KW Connect Agent Online Portal, whatever it is. Have you seen that, anybody?
Yeah.
Okay, but nobody's actually put it together.
Mhm.
Cool. Everybody online, you know where those are? The listing presentations?
Yeah, I've seen them.
Okay, cool. Well, then we
Yes.
can skip right over that. Let's skip right over that and let's talk about the actual listing appointment itself. Would that be helpful? Like
Yes.
how, okay,
Yes.
let me just walk through, like if I was going to, and please, if you guys have questions, speak up. I'm like here to answer any questions that you have and. we can kind of-
Окей. А ты можешь знать, когда я работаю? Я в 5 часов заканчиваю работу.
Okay, now we're back and good to go. Okay, so there's a couple of phases.
So do you see which, I think the one on the computer, I was gonna see if you wanted to have, because you're not showing up.
Oh,
Gotcha. Interrupt
is
you.
that because I stopped my video probably whenever I was freaking out?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
That's
that
what-
works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, so much help.
Hey, everybody.
To see your lovely face.
Okay,
you.
that's fine. That's great. Okay, so when we're thinking about going to a listing presentation, in my head, there's like 3 phases of it. The first phase is the pre-listing. And there are a few ways that you can set yourself up for success before you walk in the door. In my opinion, whether you're listing your aunt's house, your mom's house, or a totally cold for sale by owner lead, everybody should have the same experience. Otherwise, you're gonna walk in and get different objections. So you wanna set this all up, gosh, there I am. You wanna set this all up, it's probably gonna highlight whoever's talking. You wanna set this all up to have a very consistent experience. So one of the first things you can do, especially as a new agent, since that's a lot of who's listening to the call right now, is send over your resume. And I think the resume needs to be really personalized. So if you're on a team, there's obviously some really good numbers and stats that you can use. One of the ways whenever I first got started is I would send a video resume of me, especially if it's a cold lead that we've never met. I want them to start to get an idea of who I am and why I'm so excited to see their property. So that can be a video, it can be a PDF that you're texting them, depending on the communication style, but you want to put something out there that presents yourself in a really professional manner. So maybe at some point we need to have a class on what an agent resume looks like, but just know that's kind of step 1 to setting yourself up that I know what the heck I'm doing, even if it's Aunt Sally. Aunt Sally needs to know that I do occasionally present myself as a professional and not in sweatpants at grandma's house, right?
Right.
Has anyone ever done that before? Do you have any resumes that you send to clients? Okay.
I don't even know what that would look like, honestly, because you said personalized, but for me, a resume is not that way. So I guess it would be just specific towards a real estate resume that you'd want to send out for the correct audience.
You got it. And it's mostly just like that first piece of marketing. So I met with an agent yesterday she's one of the top agents in our office, and we were looking at her whole listing packet. And one of the things that we were able to work through and kind of beef up a little bit is the actual material. And whether it's your first resume or a video you send or your listing packet that you leave with someone, what's the most important is the presentation and the marketing of it. Because especially if you're competing in a listing presentation and everybody's leaving all their stuff on the counter and yours is on flimsy paper and it looks not so great, you're done. You could have the best presentation and connect with me emotionally, but that presentation is going to set you apart because in the mind of the client, I'm going, that's what my house is going to look like. Or, right? So you want to make sure that as you're putting the presentation together from the very beginning with the resume, I want consistent colors, I want consistent fonts, I want, like, think like a marketing person. You're nodding. You probably,
Yeah.
yeah,
This is exactly like what I need. So
Good.
I'm really happy.
great. So do you have any questions on it so far?
No. So I just met with a marketing person yesterday and I picked out my colors and my fonts and like everything that I want. And so
Mhm.
now I just need to like find the systems and put everything into place.
Cool.
Yeah.
So like content of what's going in the
Yes.
presentation. Great, so we'll get there. Let's have a class at some point in the really near future of what an agent resume would look like. So at different points in my career, I've been on different teams or selling on my own. And so the resume just kind of gets updated, but it all has the same like basic PDF look. And I'm trying to explain who, what, when, where, why am I going to help that person?
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to the party. No, you're good. You're totally good. So we can go over that a little bit more, but new agents have a lot of value to bring. You can always stand back on the numbers of your office. Also, I'm assuming you all didn't just like walk out of high school 10 days ago. You have value to bring. What were you doing before you got into real
Right.
estate that provides value here?
Mhm.
Does anybody want to share how something they did in the past like inspired you to be in real estate?
I mean, I'll share. So I came from a theater background. So my degree's in stage management. And so it's a lot of paperwork and structure. And so
Yes.
that's what drew me to the job I have right now. It's a lot of just making sure, you know, all the contracts are up to date and all the paperwork's up to date. And so I enjoy systems and I enjoy paperwork and doing all of that. So yeah, that's where I came from.
I love that. So that's perfect for a resume, right? I'm trying to explain to you and present myself why this list of talents that I have has enabled me to be able to help you sell a house. I have a business marketing degree and I can't tell you how many times I pretended like that was why I was so excited to go to college was to learn how to market houses, right? So we need to look back at your past and figure out what your talents and strengths and things you've done in the past are that motivate you to get here. Because at the end of the day, whenever you're sitting across the table from somebody at a listing appointment, you're looking to see how I can connect with you emotionally. And when I share things about my past, things I've gone through on a professional level, but things that I've learned, we're starting to connect and you're getting to know me a little bit more than just like a piece of paper on the table. Does that make sense? So that's my idea with the resume is I want you to get to know a little bit more about me and how I can help. So that can be, like I said, done in a video. You can record it professionally. It can be me. Hey, Andrea, I'm really excited to see your house. I just sold 3 in the neighborhood. And I know it's gonna sell really quickly, but it's something to get me in the door.
Yeah.
Before you go to the property, in my opinion, the very most important thing you can do is research the area, right? That's a given. We have to run comps, we have to know what we're selling. I have a recorded video from a script call that we did a couple of weeks ago, where I just share how I run comps and I can send you guys that YouTube link if you want it. When we get done, remind me to give you my email and then I'll just email it to you. It's on YouTube somewhere. One of the ways that I built confidence really early on, because I was going on these cold appointments with no real estate experience, it was just like, let's figure it out,
Yeah.
is finding a way to know the neighborhood better than I thought that my clients did, because then I knew that I had value. So first of all, it paints you as a real estate professional, but if you walk in and they start talking about their neighbor's house that sold down the street and you go, oh yeah, the blue one that was on the market for 8 days, you've just created a lot of trust there. So I think that especially as new agents, spending a lot of time up front, like 30 minutes to an hour, looking through comps, understanding the neighborhood is one of the ways that you can provide a lot of value whenever you go on the appointment. So you've sent the resume, you have comparables, and now we're pretty much ready to walk in the door of the listing appointment, right? Everybody's agreeing with this? Okay, so let's walk through a listing appointment. One of my biggest pet peeves is whenever someone comes to my house and I have no idea how long they're gonna stay, and I have no idea what we're gonna talk about. That's like let alone if they're here for a business appointment.
Yeah.
So you wanna make sure that you're prepping your client. Hey, Andrea, I'm gonna be over at the house at 9:30. We decided that was good. Typically, it takes around 30 minutes for me to walk through the property. Is that acceptable to you? We don't have to stretch this out for an hour and a half. When was the last time you wanted somebody in your house for an hour and a half? There's so much pressure that we put on it. You're there
right.
for a job to create a relationship and to head on and help them figure out what's coming next. So first of all, establishing how long you're gonna be there and what to expect while we're there. So I tend to say, I'm gonna bring my computer and we're gonna look at houses that have sold to try to determine a price and get a plan for how I can help you all. I say it at least 3 times on the listing appointment, and typically every single time I talk with a client, I'm here to help. How can I help you? What can we do to help you all sell? Because I want them within the process not to see me as salesy or like pushy. So I'm literally telling them I'm going to help you. I'm here to help you. How can we help with that? And it's a great objection handler too. Give me an objection that you would be scared to hear on a listing appointment.
That they want to sell it for $15,000 more than it's gonna ever in a lot of years sell for,
Yes, great.
as is.
Yeah.
Not
So-
updated.
Andrea, I hear you saying that you guys want to sell your house and you want to get the highest and best price. Is that right? Will you let me help you get the highest and best price? Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you can handle almost any
Just
objection by
like turn
asking,
it, yeah,
can I help you?
right.
Or, will you let me help you? I'd love to help you. So if I've already planted that seed early on, it's easy to bring that back up.
Yeah.
All right, so they know how long we're gonna be there. Most listing appointments, you're gonna get to the house and you want, who do we want to be at the listing appointment? Husband or wife? Mom, dad, anybody?
Whole family.
The people that are the decision makers, right?
Whole family, everybody's there. I want the gang. I want them all there. You for sure, this is like listing presentation 101. You need both spouses there, both decision makers there. If there's a serious girlfriend in the picture that I think is gonna be like in his ear, I want her there as well. And why do you guys think that is?
I mean, it adds more
Because
credibility.
it's kind of pointless to establish a relationship with one half of the decision-making party.
Yeah.
And not both.
Exactly. And what'll happen a lot of times is spouse A is working all day and spouse B is at home and they're like, yeah, just come, we'll get a number and I'll tell them.
Yeah,
You've got to figure out what that looks like because I guarantee whoever's not there is the decision maker.
Mm.
So you want everybody at the table so they've heard all the information firsthand. So now we know they're both going to be home. I'm ready to walk in the door. Knock on the door, they open the door, and typically what I'll say is, hey guys, thank you so much for having me over tonight. Do you care if I set my stuff down, like, and make a joke? Do you care if I set my stuff down like I own the place? And they're like, great, sure, set it down. So then what you're doing when you enter the house is trying to figure out where the best place is to have your listing presentation conversation. A lot of times that's at the kitchen table so we can all see each other and I can have my computer out, my marketing material out. Sometimes the kitchen table's full of crap, and so you're looking for another place in the living room that you can sit and kind of command the room. I don't want to sink into the couch chair in the corner. I want to show that I'm confident and I'm here to help them. Nobody trusts the person that went over to the dark side of the room. Like I'm here because I have value and I'm going to help you. So try to find a place that you can set yourself up to be the confident one who's here to educate the room. There's a lot of different ways to do a listing presentation. So as we start to talk about this, I want you guys to know this is how I do it. You may have a totally different spin. The person training you may have a different spin. You'll listen to something else and they'll tell you to do the exact opposite, but this is what I do. I'd come in, I would set my stuff down, and then I would say, if it's okay with you guys, I would love a quick tour of the house to see like what updates you've done and where we're at with things, and I'm just gonna take some notes. And they're like, yeah, that sounds great. So I have a physical notebook and a pen. I'm not doing it on my phone because that looks weird. And they're walking me through the property. My goal is we're walking through the house. I have a few of them. First of all, I'm understanding how much value they think they have put into the house, because I know what they bought it for. And as we're walking through, they're gonna tell you all the updates they did.
right.
We've done paint, we've done carpet, we've done all the things that we've done. And I'm starting to understand, okay, like if you've told me that you updated every sink in the room, like I'm starting to understand that you've got some equity in here besides just what I saw in your mortgage. Another thing that I'm doing is I'm asking a lot of questions. So a few questions that I always try to ask on the walk around the house, so we're not sitting at the table awkwardly handling a whole list of objections. One is I'm finding out a way to ask if they've been watching sales in the neighborhood. Have you guys seen, did you see the blue house that sold? Did you go to any of the open houses to try to understand how educated we are? I'm also trying to get a better idea while we're walking through the house of their timeline. You guys, this is so cute. Remind me again, were you hoping to be out of here in the next 6 months? Or is this like, are we at the very front lines of any of these conversations and we haven't talked about it? They just want to know how much their house is worth. What else would you maybe try to find out from people as we're walking through the property? Anybody online can chime in too.
Well, that for sale by owner, I wanted to know how long they had been trying to sell it themselves for.
Great.
So I know really where they're at as far as like, I mean, if they just started, they might still be willing to do it another month, you know?
Mhm.
But they were doing it a month, so it was kind of, I think, that right time as well for them to just leave it to a professional to take care of it.
Yep, absolutely. Understanding time frame is one of the most important things. So you're also, as you're walking through, people, if you're listening for it, you'll hear it almost every time of their pain points of why they're selling. And it may be different than why they called you. So maybe they called you or you called them, you reached out or whatever. But as we're walking through, the wife's gonna say, oh my gosh, don't look at the closet. It's such a mess. It's awful,
Mhm.
right? So they'll point things out to you like, oh, maybe as I'm talking about their motivation later on, I should bring up the idea that we can find an awesome closet. So you're listening to me. That's why I like to go through the house with the clients. I want to know, like what I'm going to hit on later and what pain points I can put on a little bit. I'm trying to think other things that I ask as we're walking through the property. One thing that can be really easy to do, especially on a listing appointment if you're a little bit nervous, is to focus on the chatty person. Typically, one or the other is giving me the tour and we're connecting. I try really hard to continue to involve this third person in the conversations by asking questions and by, like, I'm physically turning. If she's showing me their beautiful master bedroom, I'm turning to ask him some questions, because what'll happen a lot of times is the chatty Kathy, who's a really high eye and is having so much fun showing me her house, she's not the decision maker. He's the numbers guy or she's the numbers guy. And I need to make sure that I've had a relationship with him. Otherwise, you sit down at the table and you've never talked to me and we have a great relationship.
Yeah.
That's not it. So you want to make sure on that tour that you're making the most of both sides of the conversation. That make sense? Anything else about the property tour? Is there any questions on things you should be asking or shouldn't be asking and how to set that up?
So you're literally, like, you're just like, you're pointing out stuff or they're giving you what they feel like is important?
Great question. It depends on the appointment and what type of relationship I have with people. So if you're a totally cold lead and you don't know me from anybody and don't trust me yet, I'm not pointing a lot of stuff out. Like, we're just happy. We're happy and excited to be here, and I'm positive Patsy right now.
Even if there's like a huge crack that goes from like there to like there in their
Girl,
house?
unless they're telling me about that crack, I'm not bringing it up.
And honestly, I didn't even talk hardly at all.
Oh, and there's.
Yeah, she just kept telling me whatever, and it was like I was just concentrating on listening.
Okay.
Because she just gave me all the information anyway, you know, which it would be easy, but hopefully that is the case for you.
Okay.
Yeah, and people have a tendency also to tell you the bad as well. And, oh my gosh, we hate this bathroom. It always stinks, it always leaks. That's a great time to say, great, we're gonna have a seller's disclosure statement. I'm gonna help you with all the paperwork and protect your liability by disclosing all of those things. Thanks so much for telling me. So there's those things, but especially if I'm competing, I don't want to spend my precious 30 to 45 minutes telling them how crappy their house is and then stuff fell down. Because in this market, we can sell it no matter what. In a year and a half, we may have a totally different conversation, but right now it's a hot commodity. Right. So we don't need to focus on that quite so much. There's value that you can provide in other ways.
Okay.
Good question. Really good question. Anybody else have any questions on our little walk around the house? How about staging? So if you're an individual agent, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say you have to have the right price point in order to stage the house, right? You don't want to stage a house that's like $100,000, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
Correct. So let's talk about average price point in Kansas City. I think your office average price point is like $250, $300. If I'm listing at a $250,000 to $300,000 house, if I'm not bringing in a professional stager, I'm coming in with the photographers to stage while they're taking pictures of the property. And so that's a conversation that you can have with the sellers while you're there is the reason that it's nice to bring in a professional stager is kind of twofold. One, because we're not as good at it as agents as we think we are. So many people get in the business and you think you're gonna get to stage all these pretty houses and that's not really your jam. Somebody else can do it a lot better than you. The other reason is a lot of times we come in and we think we're giving value and really that can be one of the most offensive conversations. And again, I get to have enough hard conversations with people. If I can bring somebody in for $100 to stage a house and help them understand that the closets need to be cleaned out a little bit and we need to take everything off the counter and I'm not the bad guy, I'm cool with it because I've just provided value for my client by bringing in a professional, right? I'm so professional that I don't have to be everything to everyone. I got people. And so as a listing agent, you want people. Also, I'm assuming that we want to get to the point that our time is so valuable that I've got enough to do besides sit with you for 4 hours while we like get your faucets ready and figure out your garage. Speaking of that, one of the things that people will say a lot is an objection that we hear is I've got too much stuff everywhere. I'm gonna have boxes, especially for sell by owners. They're like, I'm not ready to go on the market yet because I have boxes everywhere. Great, here's how we handle that objection. So I understand that it's like weird to have people in your house when it doesn't look perfect, but the good news is that the only people coming to your house also have boxes because they're moving too. So
Yeah.
like it all kind of works. I'm like, oh, haha, that makes sense, that works. But that's something that you'll hear a lot of times from for sell by owners or people that I'm not ready for people yet. I've got to go get it all boxed up or whatever. Good question. Anybody online question about the walkthrough, the house walkthrough and what to expect or questions people might ask during that time?
I think just to add, it's like convenient if it is at a lower price point and you're not planning on staging, just to make sure that it's like as minimal as possible. So like, even if there's a couch and chairs, there's not like, I remember my mom was trying to sell this house and there was like 60 snow globes. And she had to convince these people like, hey, I know you guys love your snow globes, but like not these, potential buyers don't want to see your collection of huge snow globes, like,
Yep.
it's just, and just minimize it to where like people could see the house
Yep.
and imagine hopefully them in that house.
Are you all like helping these people do this, take care of this stuff?
So like mine luckily didn't have a bunch of snow globes, but they had like really old curtains, which didn't add to it because there were beautiful windows in the house, beautiful scenes and all. So that was something where I think it was like better just to minimize the
Okay.
70s curtains versus,
Okay.
they weren't adding to it,
Okay.
so they can get a better idea. At least it's blank and they can see like, oh, those curtains would look good there versus like, oh, what do I do with it,
I have a question, if that's okay.
Great.
Actually, just based off what she just said about the snow globes, when you're not having that conversation during the walkthrough, though, you would have that conversation after you got the listing, correct?
For sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. So it's really, really easy at that initial listing appointment to think that you have to bring value. But when the value that we're bringing is negative and they haven't signed paperwork with me, especially in this crazy market, like I said, I'm positive. I love those damn snow globes. I can't get enough of them. Do you know how many Betty Boop collections I've sold? When I sold in Springfield, everybody had a Betty Boop collection. I'm like, oh, Betty, I love Betty Boop. Can't wait for more Betty Boop. I've never seen that lunchbox. Seriously. Your goal at that listing presentation is to create a story that they want to be a part of. And it starts from the time that you walk in the door. It starts from the time that you give them the resume, how you present yourself, and the excitement that you create around what's about to be a really scary time for them. Because after the listing presentation, when you've met in person and we have way more of an emotional connection, that's when we can start getting really strategic with what's next. At that presentation, I am there to show you my marketing, that I can sell your property, determine a price, and understand a lot more about your motivation. Because once I really have my motivation dialed in and I know that we're selling because your closet is so full of stuff and you want to have another baby, your dog can't get out of the back fence in the backyard. Like I have so much information now that there's no reason you would ever list your property with anybody else, because I can help you handle all of these problems. But at the appointment, I'm there to discuss. You're nodding. Is that like starting to click a
I
little
mean,
bit?
you're just, this is so, you're good at this. I'm hoping that I can take all
So
of
much
yours.
information.
Yes. is that what
No,
you're
it's
saying?
gonna-
It makes,
it'll be
it
fun.
makes sense, yeah.
Good. Okay, so once we've toured the house and they've given me the tour, now we're coming back into the living room or the dining room, wherever we're sitting. And, hey guys, let's all just get sat down here and figure out the next steps with this. So, I took a bunch of notes and I feel like I know your property really, really well, but I want us to understand a little bit more about your story. So everybody's a single agent, is that right? You're on a team. Everyone else online, are you guys single agents?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. So this is a really, really great opportunity to dive into a quick buyer consultation and understanding why we're moving. Most people are, not most people, we always make decisions based on emotion, not logic. And the emotion of the new house is what you want to dive into. So this is a time when I'm first sitting at the table, especially if things are a little bit awkward and I don't know where to go. I want them to dream with me because I'm telling a story. So I understand the house. I know the house is going to sell. Let's have a conversation about what you want and where we're going with this. And then they'll start to tell you, great, well, we really want to be in this house. Here's our timeline. Here's what everything looks like. And then at that point, you can really start to have the listing conversation. I'm pausing because I can't decide if I want to say what I'm going to say next. Thank you. So the listing paperwork is the most important part of this. And sometimes having people complete the listing paperwork while you're sitting at the table can really like drag down the whole process. Because I've told you that I'm going to be there for 30 minutes, maybe an hour. And we've now connected and like, we're good to go. We're good. We've talked about pricing because we would have the whole CMA conversation. And I really need to get you, I need to get you to tell me yes, and I may not have time to do the paperwork there because I'm being really respectful of how long I told you that I was going to be at the property. So having a system and a process, just like you have a system and a process with your listing presentation, is really important. So you might say something after we sat down at the table, like, through our needs analysis that we had, I'm understanding that you guys really would like to be moved by spring. Is that right? Like, you'd love to be moving into a new property by June. Perfect. Yes, that's, I mean, in a perfect world, that's what we would love. We just don't really know what all that looks like. So this is where I'm going to close them without maybe having to do the listing paperwork in person this time. We're going to walk them through what a timeline would look like. And I would say, hey, can you guys get out your phones or calendar, whatever we're doing here. I want to help you get a plan. And the reason I want to help them get a plan is because I want them to remember me as the one who made the plan. Part of your job as a listing agent, but really the most important job is you're the organizer of things, which is why I think you're going to be great on listing appointments. People need clarity and people need a plan. All the same personnel. I don't care if you're a high I, a D, a S, a C, it doesn't matter. They all want you to have the plan. So once I understand your needs analysis and your preferred time frame, which is really the only part of the process that I care about at the listing appointment, is what's their drop dead date on the buy side. How I close you is working backwards. Perfect. You guys want to move in June. So is it okay with you if we kind of just sketch out a basic plan? And they're like, okay, sure. Who's going to say no to a plan? So this is what I would say then. You guys want to be moved by June. Do you have a calendar out in front of you? Somebody put it along with me. Somebody get a calendar
Sure.
out.
Yeah.
Zach actually, there you go.
Get a calendar because I can't do
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
You got yours up.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. So you'd like to be moved in June. Have you guys chatted with the lender yet?
My cousin's boyfriend is a mortgage broker.
Perfect. Great. So I want to chat with him a little bit to make sure that we're all on the same page, but most lenders are able to close loans in around 45 days. So that would tell me that from the time you get an offer until we're moving at the end of June, we've got about 45 days. So that I'm writing this out. So I have like closing, yay, and I'm drawing a big happy face. And then I'm literally drawing a timeline backwards to get to where we're at today. So great, this is our big star moving day. So then we've got 45 days that we're under contract. And you guys saw the average days on market in your neighborhood right now is about 14. Is that, do you agree with that? And they're like, yeah. So I say, this is something that it always is a good question to ask on a listing appointment. How risk tolerant are we? And I'm asking you and I'm asking you,
Mhm.
right? On a scale of 1 to 10, it's my favorite, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like risk? And they're like, we like it a lot. I'm like, heck no, I'm like safe Sally. So they're telling me that number. And if we've got 2 safe Sallies, then I'm gonna give myself more than the 14 days to get a contract on their home. I'm gonna say, just to give ourselves a buffer, can we say like worst case scenario, we're gonna give Rebecca 3 weeks to find a buyer. Great, okay, so then I'm 45 days, now I'm up to 60 days from the time that they wanna move, and I've got my timeline in front of me. So then the next question is, you know, we have a really great marketing plan. This is the part of the story that I'm telling from the very beginning. We have a really great marketing plan. I maybe didn't sit down and open up my 13-point marketing plan in front of them because they don't give 2 flying flies about it. But when I'm telling them the story and I'm getting the plan, this is where I'm getting them excited. We have such a great marketing plan. I'd love to come in and do like a YouTube walkthrough, and I want to make sure we have some good social media posts going. We have a really great program where we can post it on all of the local buyer pages, and there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. So I want to make sure I have all of your photos and the marketing material ready to go. I would love to have at least a week to prep that. I don't actually need a week, but I want them to understand that like there's a lot behind the scenes. I'd like to have at least a week to prep that, which means I want to do pictures and have the stager in here. Gosh, I mean, like 10 more days. So really, right. And I'm like literally writing this down on my timeline. So we've got 45 days for the contract, 3 weeks to get a house, to get an offer on the house, 10 days to get all the marketing back because I'm going to do so much for it. And then you've arrived now at the time that you need to be ready to go on the market. I'm going to close you is saying, perfect. If we need too much, June, April, really, I need to have all of your marketing stuff like up and ready to go by April. So would it be okay with you if we did pictures like March 15th, like is a Tuesday or Thursday better? And so we're getting an actual plan in place. If I'm bringing the photographer in at this date, and typically you're not that far out. Usually like you can look at the numbers and you're, 60 to 90 days from being ready to go on the market. So I have a plan of around the date the photographer is going to be here. And I'm starting to help them get a plan then. Okay, great. If the photographer is here March 15th, what do we all need to do before then to get ready? And now we're good. They've said yes to me. And I didn't even bring the paperwork, but we've scheduled the photographer. We know how long we have to get an offer. We know when we need to be home searching, and all of that is taken care of just by the simple timeline conversation. How's that feel to anybody online?
That sounds great.
Cool. Thanks, Chris. What do you teach, Chris?
6th grade in elementary in Shawnee Mission.
Cool. Is your class as quiet as this class is?
You wouldn't have anybody talking on Zoom on an online class with 6th graders.
Oh, fair.
They'd all be
that's fair.
texting each other.
Yeah, right, right. Okay, so the listing presentation itself, a few things that we can touch on and maybe we'll come back and we'll all like have the listing presentation conversation. One of my favorite things that I ever have in that packet is a list of objections. So this is a great cheat sheet for new agents, so yay. I found out, I guess we haven't really talked about, whenever I was a listing agent on the team, the guy who started the team had never had a listing agent, so just like Dan Wolf did all of his own stuff. And so now you do the stuff that I was doing, and there was no process and there was no system, so we had to come up with it. And I would venture to say I lost more listings than most people ever go on. Like I had a lot of failure. And so what I found was in the beginning, it's really, really difficult to get those scripts down. You have to actually practice. And for me, I needed to see them. So I came up with an objections like paper, and I would say something like, if you give me objection in a listing appointment, what's an objection that you would be scared to hear or that people might have while you're.
I mean, your commission.
Okay,
That's like a big
great.
one, yeah.
Cool. So a lot of people are scared of the commission, and what I found is that, actually, you know what, I get that question a lot. Let me see if I have this paper in here. Guess what, I brought my cheat sheet.
Mhm.
And I get it out, and it's like, it's titled 5 Biggest Fears of Buyers, because at the end of the day, an objection is only a fear. They're scared of your commission, they're scared the house won't sell, they're scared of having people in their house. And so I created this like biggest fear sheet, and I took it to all my listings, and I would get it out on the table and be like, a lot of people are really nervous about that commission. And what I found is it comes back to the money conversation. And so I literally have like the answer to their biggest fear right here, so I can see it and I can remember how I'm gonna handle that objection. Does that make sense? And really, there's probably not more than 3 or 4 big objections that you're gonna get on any listing appointment, especially as a new agent. How long have you been in the business? How are you gonna handle commission? It's those things like that. So thinking through what your script is on it, and then having it down on a really cool, like, paper with their biggest fears that you can kind of spin it that way, helps me to handle that situation. Thoughts on that?
Timeline too, the sellers for my listing had an issue with giving me 6 months to sell the house. They wanted to give me 3.
Mhm.
And I wish I was more prepared, but I'm pretty good on my toes. So I just, went with it. It's like, okay, that's fine, no problem,
Yeah.
because I wanted to make sure that I looked confident in my
Right.
job as well. Like, oh, not a big deal. Yeah, of course I can sell your house. Not updated at all for, like,
For $400,000.
yeah, like not a big deal.
Right.
But that was something I was caught off guard with. So
That, you're right, that objection comes up quite a bit, especially if you're doing the listing paperwork in person with somebody, because you're going line by line on all of it. That is another reason, and this is kind of cheating the system, but that's another reason I don't always do the listing presentation, like with the paperwork. I need a lot of trust built, and we need to be really, really connected, and you be in love with my story and how I'm gonna sell the house before I want you asking me those questions. Because now, even just in the 45 minutes we've sat here, you and I could have a very different conversation than if we would have talked about how the tens of thousands of dollars you're gonna pay me at the very beginning.
Right.
So,
yeah.
no, if it's Aunt Sally, you just gotta be ready for that, but
Yeah.
like I said, that cheat sheet was really big for me, my biggest
Okay.
fears.
sure.
Their biggest fears, and a lot of them are dollar signs.
Can you send that as well?
yes, please. Can you include that in our
Yes,
email?
you can find it.
Yes, we need all of the things, like I said.
Yeah, I'd love to be a resource for you guys and help you too, like, my biggest fears and objections might not be yours. My clients are gonna have different objections than your clients
Yeah.
will.
Mhm.
So knowing some of these and thinking about the clientele that you'll be working with and what their biggest fears are, then we can flesh it out. Let's create one that was like, you're fired up about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So presenting comps at a listing appointment is one of your biggest opportunities to shine. And it's something that you just have to practice. I'll send you that video that we did on script call. And any of you, I don't know, I talked with Elizabeth about this yesterday. So on Mondays and Thursdays, we host a script call for any agents in Kansas City that want to hop on. And the goal of the call is to bring any objections or things that you're nervous about hearing from your clients. So like today, we had a guy get on that he was like, today I'm calling back through all of my cold dead leads. What can I say to them? What can I actually say today, right now, to help me like liven some of these people back up? So I tell people, if you're about to go on a listing appointment and you're nervous that they're gonna say X, Y, Z, you don't have to jump on the call every Monday and Thursday, but hop on if you know you've got business coming up, and let's flesh out some of these ideas together. So that's where a lot of those recordings are from, is from script call with people with real life scenarios to
Yeah.
just listen to. And we'll make sure Elizabeth sends everybody the link to that if you want to come hang out.
And that's 9:30 on Mondays and Wednesdays?
Did I say 9:39?
Oh.
9 on Mondays and Thursdays.
Okay.
Don't listen to me, just follow.
We'll just wait for Elizabeth to post.
I would just do what Elizabeth says, admin is not my stream.
So it obviously gets easier as the more you go on, but like, I feel like everybody's different, so I don't know, I can't wrap my head around.
You kind of
like-
have to like find your style too, like
Okay.
what you're comfortable with, you
Mhm.
know, like, cause we're different. So
Mhm.
what I do would probably be like, oh my gosh, like, I'm not doing that at all, right?
Okay,
But,
right.
or like how I say things, right?
Mhm.
But like, you gotta kind of like find your groove, or
Okay,
you feel comfy with it too.
Mhm.
and that's where the practicing is, the scripts and stuff.
Literally, you're practicing the scripts. As a new agent, I don't know if your coaching program has encouraged you to like ask friends and family if you can come over for a fake listing presentation. Guys, that's huge.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, can I come over and help you understand what your house is worth? It's good practice for me. And then if you nail that and you come in and you look like a gangsta and they're like, heck yeah, he knows what he's doing. Guess who is now gonna be your biggest fan and referral? Right? I'm very strategic about which family and friends I'm choosing to do that with.
Mhm.
Grandma may not refer me, grandma may refer me, but I'm asking for those conversations with people that I wanna prove I got a killer resume, I have awesome marketing, and I'm here for it.
Or even doing that with like a cold lead relative that
Yeah.
is like, oh no, I'm not ready to sell, then you could be like, well, what if I just came and practiced a listing presentation with you
Great.
and then prepared, and then
And then maybe they
maybe you
like
change their
you.
mind about selling after your
Yeah.
presentation.
Yeah, the number of people that actually know how much their house is worth and understand the listing process is so few.
Mhm.
Like, people just say no to say no, not because they don't
Yeah.
actually, you have value. You can help them understand how
Right.
much their home is worth. They can pay off credit cards, maybe they can move, maybe in 4 years they want to move, but you have to be in and out of people's houses. And I think sometimes we downplay the importance of just getting in the door. Just get in the door. That's like step one. And then will you share, have you already shared with anybody your story about your first sale by owner?
Yes, all
Everybody
three.
knows.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, she actually helped me put it in the MLS because it wasn't in the MLS at all.
Wow, so cool.
Yeah, she told
They
me
built
about
the
that.
house
she
and
had
so
a
there
lot
was no
of
prior
guts.
listing.
I just don't think I
A lot
can
of
do it.
issues.
Ew. That's not fun.
And then Zach went to my open house too, and it was pretty
'Cause
pretty
I had
rough.
just closed a house in that neighborhood.
Okay,
down the
and-
street, yeah.
And whenever she told me how much they wanted to sell it for, I was like, they're crazy.
$450,000.
oh,
But
The
it
house
didn't
I
happen
just
that
closed
way,
on was updated and it sold, we closed under contract at 365 and they wanted 450 down the street. I was like, they're dreaming.
so cute.
Yeah.
You don't want that. So, I always take my computer to listing presentations. You try on the front side to understand like how updated they think their house is, what am I walking into, so when I'm looking at comps, I know which neighbors I'm like focused on. And at the same time, hopefully by the time I go on this listing presentation, I've run these numbers so many different times that I have a really good idea of the houses that are gonna pull up. And to me, numbers and math are one thing that people can't disagree with. So that's another script that I'll throw out in the listing presentation quite a bit is, let's look at the numbers together, because you might disagree with my opinion. I don't like your Betty Boop and you like your Betty Boop, but we're all gonna agree on numbers and we're all gonna agree on math. And I'm about to connect with the person who's probably the hardest in the room, which is that Heidi. Is that okay? Can we check out the maps together? Can we look at the houses together? Physically, like, and they're watching me put in the information. I'm explaining, I'm looking at 3-bedroom houses because we only have 3 bedrooms. I'm looking at this much upgraded square footage and great. So then when those numbers come up and we're explaining,
Well, and a lot of people don't realize when they're looking at other houses selling in their area that like you can't comp other houses
Yeah.
that are like completely different
Mhm.
layouts too.
right?
Yeah.
Because that has a huge role to play in
Right.
how you're listing your house and what you're actually comparing yourself to.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because if you're a 2-story and you're comparing yourself to a raised ranch,
Yeah.
those are completely different houses.
Mhm.
Mhm. Great point.
I thought you go off square footage and the way that it looks.
Well, just because like it doesn't have to exactly be comparative, right? Like if it's, like my sellers were running comps like at a neighborhood down the street, that doesn't make sense. You have to get your comps in a reasonable
But aren't
area,
there like
in
rules of
the-
thumb though? Like, so square footage and then like, don't you like substitute like if it has a 1-car garage and it has an additional bathrooms, it's comparable or
That's
no?
the thing too, like what adds value and what doesn't,
Mm.
right? And you want to make sure that like, oh, if they're saying, oh yeah, we changed out the light fixtures and the paint, well, paint looks great, but like it might not add tons of actual price value to it.
Shocking.
You know,
$7
like-
gallon of paint. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like just knowing like
It
what
goes a long
does.
way for like your pictures,
Mhm.
but as
Yeah,
far as the
yeah.
value in the home,
Exactly.
Well, I mean, floor plan is a big one.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
not
yeah.
gonna compare a split level to a ranch.
Okay, right, yeah.
Because like accessibility, like it's not
Yeah.
the same at
Well,
all.
and
Right.
it's not same buyer pools either.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Nailed it.
It's like a different audience.
Yeah, those are bringing in different
Right.
buyers.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and that's one of the things, so whenever you're running numbers and comps on a
Mhm.
house, you've got to do it two different ways. You have to do it as an uneducated buyer first.
Mhm.
I want to know everything that you've been watching sell for the last year, and I
Yeah.
always go back a full year, because the buyer thinks it sold yesterday,
Mhm.
and that house sold 12 months ago. But you're gonna bring up the house in the listing appointment that sold at $400,000, and I've only run professional comparables, like an appraiser will,
Mhm.
and I didn't see that sale.
Yeah.
So there's like 3 different ways that I'm running comps for every listing appointment.
Okay.
One, it's the neighborhood for the last 12 months. Like the specific name of the neighborhood. And if it's like it's too small, I might go out half a mile radius
Okay.
thinking like, how could they have gotten to their house if they saw those for sale signs?
Right.
Mhm.
So that's the first way I'm running it, is in the eyes of the client.
Because
Okay.
that's like the first listing presentation I ever went on, just like shadowing another agent. They were like, he had me do all of the comps for like the past 6 months before we went. And he told me to do just this, like he showed me like the criteria of like how to run specific comps for their house. But then also go and see like what has been selling in their area that they might object to.
Yes.
And they literally brought like, this was probably like a $200,000 house early at the beginning of 2021. And they were like, well, we don't really want to sell unless we can get like what the house that we went to the open house down the street can get, because it sold for like 275. And we were like, oh, so like cool. That didn't exist in any of the comps that I ran, so they must have been like across town when they when they went to this open house and thought, oh, my house is better than this.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So you said run the neighborhood comps and then run the uneducated buyer comps and the professional comps?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and then you want to save those. And so that's another big value that you can explain to your clients. And what that script looks like when you're in person with somebody is, this is a really great way to handle someone who wants to list their house for hire. All right. So what's really interesting about our market right now is that buyers are willing to pay more than banks are willing to lend. And there's a lot of buyers that are bringing cash. I'm explaining this way. There's a lot of buyers that have like extra cash just sitting. I call it the COVID cash. They got the COVID cash sitting around and they want to use it to buy a house. So what we need to do, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer and Seller, or Mr. and Mr. Seller, we need to make sure that we have the home priced that these buyers who've been looking for a year, buyers right now are so educated. They've been looking for a year, missing out on houses. We need them that whenever they walk in the front door to be like, yep, they got this right. I work with a lot of buyers right now that know the market as well as I do. So here's why we're sitting down and we're looking at these comparables right now and making sure that we have your home priced the right way. So sometimes you have to go into a little buyer psychology. A buyer that's gonna purchase, I'm still explaining this, a buyer that's gonna purchase like a ranch with all the bedrooms on the same level is a totally different buyer than somebody like my household that has young kids and I want us all upstairs so nobody sees my mess.
Right.
So when we're running comps, and that's kind of a way to explain how the appraiser is gonna look at it, when we're running comps for what the bank's gonna see, they look at it a little differently. So now I've pulled up all the 2-story houses that have sold within half a mile radius.
Okay.
And I'm educating them on,
Like
How we got
being
there.
priced correctly can actually get you a lot higher number. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
And then also, like, if I had put it at 450, like the son had so desperately wanted me to keep it at, then I would have eliminated all these other buyers that were looking in the lower price range that were, right there, but just not quite at 450.
you got it. Because people expect to pay full price. So we could have a whole conversation about pricing and we probably
Right,
come on
right.
script call, we'll talk about it for the whole time.
Okay.
It is 11 o'clock. Does anybody have any takeaways? Was this helpful? What do we want to do next
Yes,
time? All right, give me some of your
so
biggest
helpful.
takeaways, because that will be helpful for me to know what we should chat more about next time.